Good morning, flutarians. Welcome to another session of the Atomic Flutist. If you haven't already read James Clear's Atomic Habits, I recommend checking it out from your local library or listening to the audiobook because it is inspiring these sessions where we are establishing or reestablishing a healthy system of habits for I was going to say improving your improvising on flute. It does apply to that, but it really applies to any sort of playing on your flute. And we want to put them into teeny tiny little digestible atomic sized chunks that are easy to start and satisfying to do. So I've decided to start having a key of the day based off of the day of the month. So today is the 8th day of February. And let's count up the chromatic scale starting on C. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. So that leads us to G. Let's make G our key of the day. Now, we will practice some of our chromatic scale now. I would say that if you only practiced one scale, to focus on the chromatic scale because it includes all of the notes that are in all of the scales. So if you get really proficient with your chromatic scale and you use your ears to listen to and judge what sounds good, then you can play in any key. We'll practice that skill some today in improv games at 1 p.m. Central Time. Then we'll do a couple of church-themed songs since it is Sunday. And we practice that chromatic scale set, skill set pretty much every time we do improv games. And I'm doing improv games 4 times a week now, Sundays at 1 p.m. Central, Mondays at 7 p.m. Central, Tuesdays at 12 p.m. Central, and Wednesdays at 6:30 p.m. Central. So I invite you to join us at school. That's the best place to find the calendar of events, to join us in improv games. And even if those times don't work for you, there are improv games that you can play on your own time. And we are a supportive community of flutists who are improving our improvising. You can share your progress, share your struggles, and share your wins. So one of the reasons we want to practice the chromatic scale is because if we're playing with a praise and worship band at church, well, what if the singer needs the key to be a little bit higher or a little bit lower? And on the day of the performance, they move the song up or down by a half step or a whole step or whatever interval. The chromatic scale will help you deal with those situations. Now, let's also imagine that we're at church and we're about to start playing with the band, or the service is about to start, but we haven't warmed up yet. How can we start warming up our flute in a way that is unobtrusive? Well, we can use whistle tones. So here's an example of a whistle tone. Give me just a sec. Here's an example. So I have my fingers on the note G, and I'm blowing just a little bit of air, maybe 10 to 20% of what I would to get the note to sound. Some flutists use the whistle tones to warm up the muscles in their embouchure without being heard backstage or side stage or wherever you are. So let's do that. Take a breath. We'll do a long whistle tone on the G, and then let's descend the chromatic scale all the way down to that low C, making some whistle tones. And F sharp. The word that comes to mind when I'm practicing these is finesse and gentleness. Let's try the same thing with our fingers on F. And down to E. and E flat. You may hear some harmonics where it's jumping to different notes in the harmonic series. Let's try that one again with our fingers on E flat. And D. And D flat. And now you've almost certainly heard these notes come out of your flute, but usually as an accident right before we start a note or right as we're ending a note, when our airstream either hasn't gotten fast enough yet or we don't slow it down fast enough. So part of what we're doing in these little atomic warm-up sessions and technique sessions is discovering what is happening in our embouchure when those things that we don't want to happen, so that we can avoid them when we don't want them to happen and do them when we actually want them to happen. So let's go back up to this G, this one here. I'm going to put on a drone G for reference, for tuning. And since I am all about improvisation, let's do an improvisation just on the first three notes of the scale. G, A, B. Now remember, you can improvise with the order of the notes, the rhythm, the articulation, the volume, or dynamics. So let's do a little improv on G, A, B. There's my little 2-breath improv. Now, let's take just that G and play the most beautiful flute note you've played all day. For me, this is going to include some vibrato, especially as the note gets closer to the end. I'm thinking about a beautiful beginning to the note, a beautiful middle of the note, and a beautiful end to the note. I like to open my mouth at the end of a note, like a ah shape, so that the flute can continue to resonate, as well as my body. Our bodies are of the resonance of the flute, kind of like on a guitar, that big wooden body helps the instrument resonate. So scales are so important, but we don't always necessarily want to sound, when we have people listening, like at church, that we're just playing our scales through. We want to make it beautiful. So let's do some what I call scale segments. We'll start with 2 notes, just the most beautiful G and the most beautiful A. Take a breath, then do G, A, B, then we'll do G, A, B, C. And we'll do that all the way up till we get to the higher G. So let's name what is the accidental or what is the sharp or flat in G major. G major is the first of the keys with a sharp in it, and it always is F sharp first. So there will be an F sharp. So let's do G, A, G, A, B, G, A, B, C, G, A, B, C, D, G, A, B, C, D, E, G, A, B, C, D, E, F sharp. Now let's go all the way up to the G. Let's do the same thing going down. First, we'll just play that G as our most beautiful G of the day of this G. Then we'll add one more note at a time going down. Now, if you want another fun variation for playing your scale that doesn't just sound like a straight up or straight down scale, join me for improv games we like to warm up with. I call it any way up or any way down the scale. Now let's focus on working towards that low C. In my opinion, the lowest register on the flute is the foundation for a beautiful upper register. So let's do 2 notes per breath, descending the chromatic scale. So it'll be G, G, F sharp, take a breath, F sharp, F, take a breath, and we'll keep on doing that. Let's do this one without vibrato so that we can focus on our intonation, because vibrato is really little variations or waves in intonation, right? And let's add this dynamic shape where we start and end as quietly as possible. And in the middle, we play as loudly as possible, trying to compensate for the natural tendency on the flute to go sharp when we play louder and to go flat when we play quieter. So G to F sharp. Now let's go back up to this key and do the same series of notes, moving down. But this time, let's incorporate articulation. I'm going to do this with double tonguing, ta-ka or ta-ka, but you can do it with a ta-ta, ta-ta, just the front of the tongue instead of the front close to the teeth, and then the rebound more in the middle of the roof of the mouth with the middle of the tongue. And let's do it like this. Ta-ka, ta-ka, ta. 1, 2, 3. Actually, let's do 8. 1, 2, 3, 4, ta, 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 ta. And then hold the last note, maybe a little vibrato at the end. And I want you to focus on not letting the tongue interrupt the flow of air for more than just the briefest of a second. Briefest, what's the word I'm looking for? Piece of a second? Fraction of a second. G, 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 G. Then we'll do F sharp, F sharp, F sharp, F sharp, F sharp. Let's do that low C again and work our way back up. Now let's take a minute to be intentional with our vibrato. Let's play that same G, and let's take a whole breath to play our slowest, tallest vibrato. Now let's take a breath to do our fastest vibrato. Now let's combine the two. Let's take a breath and start with as slow as possible. And then once we've gotten to where we're running out of breath, playing as fast vibrato as possible. Then we'll do the opposite. Let's do slow to fast. Now fast to slow. Let's do those two combinations again. Let's do slow to fast, and we'll take a breath and do fast to slow. Work our slurred octaves a little bit and focus on what changes in the embouchure to get to the higher note and then to return to the lower note. So we'll do this in the G major scale. It'll sound kind of like this. Join me. Same thing on the A. What are you noticing in your embouchure that changes? I noticed for me that the direction of the airstream moves a little bit lower for the low notes and moves a little bit higher for the high notes. And I feel my lips getting more soft and supple for the low notes and getting more forward, almost like a kissy for the high notes. So let's do the same thing on the B. And C. And the D. And the E. And the F sharp. And on the G. you may have noticed for those, I was changing my fingerings to the upper octave fingerings when I went up. But now let's do the same thing and keep our fingerings on the lower fingerings and only change the embouchure. We call these harmonics. So it will be a little bit more difficult to get out, but if we can get these out with the lower fingerings, we'll be better prepared to play them with the proper fingerings. And it helps us focus on what needs to change in the embouchure. So let's start again on this lower G. On these first four notes, the fingerings will be the same on the lower and the upper. Let's do A. And B. And C. And D, let's keep our fingers on this middle D. And F sharp. And G. When I look in the camera, I can see some movement here for me when I go from low to high. And I'm noticing that my tongue for the low notes is a little bit more back, like a yawn. Back and down. And it comes a little bit more forward and up for the higher notes. Well, thanks for joining me for another Atomic Flutist warm-up session. I hope you're feeling more warmed up. I hope that if you're in New York or somewhere where it's still very freezing cold right now, that you're feeling a little bit more warmed up in your body too. So join me for improv games later. I hope to see you there.